Welcome to Crystal Clarity, a simple and quick process to uncover your core desires and beat procrastination, confusion, and self-sabotage. So let me ask you this. You wouldn't start out on a trip without knowing where and how to get where you want to go, right? So why would you spend the better part of your life, which is obviously more important than any single trip, consumed with activity day after day without complete clarity on what, why, where, and how to get what you truly want in life? So in the videos that lay ahead, I'm going to show you a simple 7-step process that will help you to find what you truly want. Now, maybe that's a little odd to hear, right? I mean, some people might be saying, well, of course I know what I want. I want to make more money, promotion at work. I want my business to be more successful. I want to be more healthy. I want to spend more time with my kids, so on and so forth, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to actually drill down and find the motivation that is behind the surface of our goals. We're also going to identify what would help us to reach our goals and look at the obstacles that could potentially stop us or slow us down. A bit of background about me and how this course came about. My name is Ken Wells. I have no traditional credentials of any kind. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist, a therapist. I don't have any letters after my name. As a matter of fact, I barely graduated from high school. I think my psychology teacher actually changed my grade a few days before graduation so I could walk the stage, as a matter of fact. I also had many disadvantages starting out, but luckily I had and still have a willingness and curiosity to learn new things along the way. So all I have to offer you is what has worked for me and for countless others that I've coached through this process. The short version of my story basically goes like this. Shortly after graduation, I was kicked out of my mother's house and I was living in my car delivering pizzas to make my car payment and try to support myself. I started to get really into personal development books. Sleeping in your car in a church parking lot will do that to you. And soon after became a salesperson for a car warranty company. I did well and ultimately moved on to other sales positions and ultimately into corporate sales. But somewhere along the way, I started to drift off track and ultimately wound up so far off path that I found myself addicted to drugs, facing legal problems, severely in debt. I was essentially unemployable, deeply depressed, and I had alienated myself from literally all my friends, but maybe the wrong kind of friends, and almost all of my family. And I wanted to kill myself. I had to make a change. So I was literally forced to take a real deep look at what was going on with me. I got involved in AA and I relied on that program for the first couple years of my sobriety. But what I also did was I dove right back into the personal development material that had fascinated me when I was in my late teens and early 20s. I mean, I really got back into it. I experimented extensively with the ideas I was revisiting. And at this point, I have spent well over 10,000 hours studying the possibilities of human potential. I've read over 1,000 books related to personal development, and I've watched and listened to literally thousands of hours of audio and video on the subject. And part of that is because it's just, honestly, it's a passion of mine. I mean, I'm deeply interested in the subject, but I also really wanted to understand how I could turn my life around. And truthfully, much of the stuff that I heard after a while did start to sound, much of it sounds the same, and most of it doesn't strike deep enough. I mean, take for example the quote, if you can believe, you can achieve, that we've all heard in some form or fashion for years. It's a great idea and it's profound, but like most of the books I was reading, it didn't tell you how to actually change your beliefs. So it's a cute idea. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. Well, great. I'm stuck with all these shitty beliefs. Excuse my language. But anyways, and that was really the problem that I found repeatedly. They would tell you the what, but not the how. Or if they would tell you the how. It was kind of like, step 1, build a house. Step 2, walk through the door. However, not everything that I was learning was so shallow. And to be fair, almost every book that I read offered some sort of value. The most interesting and powerful things I was learning really came out of NLP. Hypnosis was deeply fascinating. Things I was learning there. Consciousness related studies, esoteric, some modern psychology stuff was kind of interesting. I read a lot in philosophy, mind-body medicine, medicine, and some very interesting things I learned out of ancient spiritual texts as well. And after a while, I started to find some really powerful tools, most of which was not very accessible due to the highly technical way it was presented, and much of it was from books that had been sitting on my shelves for years, funny enough. So when I truly realized that transforming my life was a matter of transforming my perception of myself and my relationship to everything else, I started to see everything changing around me. And as my perception changed, new behaviors, new thoughts, new feelings started to occur naturally. I found myself easily motivated, whereas before I would struggle to stay motivated to achieve my goals, and that's really the basis of this program is clarity, motivation, and there's some other things we'll talk about as well. But I literally transformed everything in my life. I overcame my addictions. I went from broke to abundant financially. I repaired my relationships. And most importantly, I was able to find a real happiness and peace and contentment within myself, regardless of circumstance. Obviously, all this didn't happen overnight. It was over the course of several years. But eventually, people around me started asking me for advice on various issues like self-esteem, relationships, business. And I noticed I had a real knack for helping other people begin to have the breakthroughs that I was having. As a matter of fact, the foundation for this 7-step process that we're going to go over came about while helping someone with a career issue that they were having. Anyways, I think you'll find that this course, along with other future programs I release, to be highly actionable, straightforward, and effective. Thanks again for giving this program a sincere shot, and I'll see you in the next video.